A new enemy is on the rise. How will they be defeated? Will Dracula be stopped by the Fantastic Four, Moon Knight, Iron Man, or something else? This is Season 1 and 1.5, and this is the story of Marvel Rivals. This is the story of Season 1 Eternal Nightfalls in Marvel Rivals. If you haven't seen my full story video for everything before Season 1, then please check it out in the comment section. It's over a 40-minute video discussing everything, timelines, different chronoverses, we cover everything. But this is going to be covering everything in Season 1 and Season 1.5. So we're going to be starting off by reading the Eternal Nightfalls story. Eternal Nightfalls. Bad news, loyal readers, we're bringing you yet another morningless morning edition of New York's finest newspaper, the Daily Bugle. Why? Because our beloved borough has been trapped in a state of never-ending night for who knows how long. That's why, as a publisher of this perilous periodical, it's up to me, J. Jonah Jameson, to provide you all with the info you need to navigate the perpetual pitch. So here's the scoop. Our interpreted reports still don't have a solid source or willing to admit what caused Manhattan to become an empire of eternal night. But side note, we do. And by the end of this story, after reading through this comics, if you're unfamiliar with it all, everything will be explained. But anonymous scientists have independently confirmed that a massive wave of chronal energy washed over our planet shortly before things went dark. Coincidence? I think not. Like something out of a bad horror movie, our city streets are now being stalked by vampires. You heard me right. These bloodsuckers have been draining veins faster than my libel lawyers drain my bank account. Our former friends and neighbours are quickly turning into our worst enemies. Rumour has it that Dracula himself has taken up residence in Central Park. Sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but if that caped creeper really is organising an army, we'd all be better off relocating to New Jersey. And those aren't words this lifelong New Yorker types easily. So where are all the superheroes? Eyewitnesses have identified members of the Fantastic Four coming and going regularly from the stronghold in the Baxter building. As always, the Richard family is on the front line of the crisis, and we here at the Bugle applaud them for their selfless service. Tony Stark recently issued a press release claiming that he and Reed Richards are collaborating on a number of innovative solutions to restore New York to its former glory, and as quickly and as efficiently as possible. However, my source on the inside suggests that these two big brains may be at odds when it comes to exactly how they plan to end this endless night. Reed wants to save everyone, while Tony is still calculating how many losses are acceptable. My vote goes with Richards. Other heroes have been seen patrolling the streets, rescuing citizens stupid enough to wander beyond the safety of their apartments. Squirrel Girl, Moon Knight, Cloak and Dagger, you name them. They're probably out there risking their lives to save yours. Who else is out there? Peter Parker. Who else is out there? Morbius. There's loads of people. So for once, I'm willing to put aside my personal distaste for costume crusaders and say thank you on behalf of the people of New York for all those fighting a good fight. Except for one. I have it on very good authority that the less than amazing Spider-Man dodged his duties and swung through a portal to have a spider party with his friends in the far-flung future. I'll see if my favourite photographer, Peter Parker, can get me a solid snapshot of that web weirdo abandoning his adoring public. That's it for now, fearless readers. We have plenty more news for you tomorrow, if tomorrow ever comes. J. Jonah Jameson. So, we know about J. Jonah Jameson because we've seen him on the map. And for this Eternal Nightfalls, the first page, it's pretty much just giving you like a bit of backstory as to what's going on. And we do know Spider-Man is here helping as well, and he would prefer to be here, because this is his chronoverse, but he has also, been helping out in Tokyo 2099. So let's move on to the next page. At your service. Welcome to the Baxter building. I am the humanoid experimental robot B-type integrated electronics, but you may call me Herbie. I understand that you must have an urgent matter that requires the immediate attention if you are willing to brave the streets of New York to seek out the Fantastic Four's assistance. Unfortunately, all our personnel are momentarily occupied dealing with other crises. Dr. Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, is in his laboratory working on the prototype of the time stream reintegration device with the help of Tony Stark, aka Trudy. If the device functions as planned, it could theoretically undo the damage caused to the multiverse by the time stream entanglement. There is even hope it will break the curse that has locked New York City in a state of perpetual night. However, despite his ability to elongate his physical form, I fear Dr. Richards may finally be stretching himself too thin of late. And we know that he's making this, and you see it in the season 1 trailer. It's that picture of him working. You also see it in the map when you're you're loading up Midtown on attacking side, I believe it is. You spawn in the back of the building, and that is the Trudy device behind him. Susan Richards, aka the Invisible Woman, is currently on a reconnaissance mission in Central Park, seeking out information on the organizational structure of the vampire army that has invaded the island of Manhattan during this period of prolonged darkness. Her unparalleled stealth abilities have allowed her to gather critical intel on our new foes, putting her directly in the face of grave danger far more frequently than the rest of her family would like. So we know that this is what she's up to, and in her story, she has like a go at Herbie. Herbie feels like he's unwanted. Sue goes back out to help him. Penny Parker's like little miniature robots come and assist her as well, try to get Herbie out of there, because Herbie pretty much leaves to go and help Iron Man's fallen Stark like sentinel that you see in the map that's crashed through into the train station. As for Reed Richards in his story, he's just trying to build this Trudy device, and while he's in the back of the building, he helps Cloak and Dagger try to get back to their original form as well. So yeah, he's having some issues over there, but we do find out that he does make a miniaturized version of it. So we'll get onto that very soon when we talk about The Thing. So her brother, Jonathan Storm, aka the Human Torch, is on patrol with Spider-Man, rescuing civilians who have fallen into the peril and recruiting other heroes who have yet to join our cause. Now that the sun no longer rises, Johnny's flames have made him the center of attention wherever he goes, exactly as he had always hoped to be. He has become a beacon of hope to many in these dark times, and a constant warning to any creatures of the night who might dare to oppose him. We know this is the case because the Human Torch is in his story, is patrolling the streets, is defeating people, and he's on patrol with Spider-Man, and the Thing comes out to help him as well, which is pretty interesting that he's just on the streets as well, and they just link up from time to time. And the Human Torch says he enjoys doing this, but he thinks he's going to be becoming like Dracula's #1 target, and when he's fighting and destroying these vampires, he looks over to the mansion and he hopes that Dracula's looking down at him doing this, which is quite interesting. Moving on to Benjamin Grimm, aka The Thing. He's on a supply run in Lower Manhattan. His expert piloting skills have recently proven nearly as useful as his super strength and his rock-hard skin. He's managed to single-handedly save hundreds of lives while retrieving vital equipment and valuable samples, including rare chronovium crystals for Dr. Richards to analyze. So we know from The Thing's story is that when he's out patrolling the streets and he's going back to, I believe it's called the Yancey Town, where he grew up, he also comes across Black Panther, who's now in New York, but he's also been he's kind of infected. He's Black Panther as a vampire, but he's not under the control of Dracula. He can control his body, and others look to him as well. And in this story, Reed Richards turns up with a smaller version of Trudy, and he uses it to revert Black Panther. I think it's to back to his state. Oh no, Black Panther takes some of the herb that gives him his his powers, so to speak, and he becomes normal. But then Reed Richards turns up to help them because they're being swarmed, and he uses that, and it actually puts Black Panther back to his state as he is as a vampire, which is the skin that's coming out. And pretty much helps them escape. So it's a really interesting story, The Things. So with all the members of the Fantastic Four indisposed, that leaves me to run daily operations here at the Baxter Building. While I wish I could offer to support you in the field, I'm afraid that the few times I adventured beyond these walls have not gone as smoothly as hoped. Unless Dr. Richard upgrades my offensive capabilities or identifies a mission with objectives that only I can complete, I do believe it would be best for us to both remain within the safety of these walls until a qualified individual becomes available to assist you. Thank you for your patience. Please take a seat in our lobby and wait for the other civilians who have come to seek our aid. You are currently 1,961 on the wait list. So it just shows that the Fantastic Four are being asked for a lot. While Herbie's in the Baxter building, he's also helping out with Franklin Richards, one of the most powerful beings in all of the Marvel comics in history, the child of Sue Richards and Reed Richards, as well as their daughter, Valeria Richards. They are both alive in this Marvel Rivals universe, because it's discussed in Invisible Woman's story and the other members of the Fantastic Four. Moving on to Thicker Than Blood, let's read this. Thicker Than Blood, tell me, why have you come here? You are a long way from Latveria. I have brought you a gift from one king to another, a tribute befitting the Lord of the Vampires. A gift from Victor Von Doom? Ha! Do you think me a fool? Another one of your era's pathetic supervillains whose loyalty can be purchased with mere baubles? I am Dracula. I have reigned over the night for centuries, and with this crystal perhaps that reign could become permanent, as could the night itself. Ah, now you have piqued my curiosity, Master One. Do tell me more. What you hold in your hand is called Chronovium. It was born from an experiment of mine that caused the very fabric of time and space to unravel and reweave itself in unexpected ways. As the chronal energy released in the process stabilized once again, it took this crystalline form. Shards of pure time. Fascinating. Not as fascinating with what could be achieved with this gem by one such as yourself. I have studied both the scientific data and the ancient text. If my theory is correct, a single drop of blood from an immortal being such as yourself could unlock the vast power held within this crystal. You could gain complete control over time in a limited area. Imagine a modern metropolis locked in a state of unending darkness, becoming a permanent feeding ground for your minions, an empire of eternal night, where you rule supreme. How lovely would that be, if it were true? But I have never been given reason to trust your words before, Doom. Why would I begin now? Because we both have much to gain from this arrangement. If you were to choose New York City as your new domain, your legion of followers would keep the so-called heroes who dwell there fully occupied. It would allow us both the freedom to pursue our greater goals. What greater goals is there than an eternal night? An existence where your people can walk in the daylight without any fear or harm. And with the proper spell pulled from the pages of the Darkhold and enhanced by the power of this crystal, I believe that dream could be a reality. The vampiric verses, indeed. I'm not naive, Victor. There is something more you are not yet revealing to me. Doom never reveals all, but I promise you on the soul of my mother, this is not an act of deception. What I've offered you will come to pass, so you should choose it to. And all it takes is one drop of blood, you say. Just one drop. I do believe I can spare that much. After all, the streets of New York will be running red with it soon enough. So this is the backstory as to how Doom actually, gave the Chronovium to Dracula, and how Dracula turned it into an eternal darkness of night, turned New York City into an eternal darkness of night. And you can see obviously from the image that is him putting his drop of blood onto the Chronovium, unlocking its full potential and power. And we see that reflection of Doom in the bottom left on the Chronovium. So we gotta think, why would Doom just go out of his way to do this? Doom, when he's in a battle with Doom of 2099, what is he planning here? He's obviously got something else at play here. And is he using Dracula? Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if Doom was. So let's keep reading and find out what else. Ever since I first started hanging around my pal Stephen Strange, he always told me the same thing. Bats, he says, being the sorcerer supreme of this dimension means that I do not have the time for games, but I guess that was just something he made up to get out playing fetch with yours truly. Because apparently when there's a high stakes game to be played for the fate of all reality, the Doctor is all in. If you're not familiar who Bats is Doctor Strange's ghost dog that you can see on the Doom game mode, which is a small map. See, a while back we got paid a visit by another so-called Doctor. Of what, I'm not really sure. This one called himself Doom. He wanted to get his hands on one of the spell books in Strange's library, but this tomb, a book of black magic called the Darkhold, was strictly off limits. Doom wasn't thrilled about that fact, and Stephen had a feeling that his fellow doctor was bound to come knocking again. Strange decided that the safest option would be to open a rift between realities and stash the Darkhold where no one would ever find it again. And this is where things get a little kooky, even for a ghost dog like me. Time itself got turned upside down, and Strange ended up lost in the astral plane for a hot minute. While he was there, he searched for the Darkhold to make sure it was still safe, but surprise, it had somehow fallen into the bony hands of the Egyptian moon god by the name of Khonshu. This bird-skulled freak had been protecting travelers in the night for centuries, and he thought the best way to keep doing that would be to use the Darkhold to eliminate the vampires that had overrun New York City. Not a bad plan, honestly, except for the fact that it would hurt thousands of regular folks who'd been unwillingly turned to the dark side. Khonshu took Strange captive and tried to make the doc cast that nasty spell for him, but Strange knew he had to shut Khonshu down. Luckily, the Scarlet Witch had reminded Stephen that Khonshu loved the game of Senet, which is some kind of fancy Egyptian board game like chess. Even better, Khonshu wasn't particularly great at the game. Seriously, according to the legend, he lost a match to some other god named Thoth and forfeited his radiance as part of the wager. That's the whole reason the moon waxes and wanes. Look it up. Anywho, Strange played the game of his life, securing not only his freedom, but recovering the Darkhold as well. The funny part is, Stephen used a strategy that Dr. Doom himself unintentionally tipped him off to do, moving his piece to the House of Truth space and drowning Khonshu in the House of Water, giving the Doc a chance for a major comeback. It was a big gamble, that paid off, and now he's back safe and sound. I've even gotten on his case about always turning me down whenever I want to play. The guy did save thousands of innocent lives after all. He deserves a free pass this time. But you better believe it next time I ask him for a toss of ball for me. I ain't taking no for an answer. So this story is obviously from the perspective of Bats, Doctor Strange's dog. And you can see here in the image, that is the board game on the screen that Doctor Strange and Khonshu are playing against each other. So what we already know from this, which I explained in the season 1, is that Doom came to Doctor Strange to ask him for his help. And why did he do it? Well, we found out a bit more here that he obviously wanted a Darkhold for one of his spells, and one of the spells that he was just talking to Dracula about. However, Doctor Strange wasn't giving it up, and he put it into a space that he wouldn't just be able to get straight away, but Khonshu could. And Khonshu did go looking for this. We know that from Moon Knight's story. That Moon Knight was left, to look after New York while Khonshu went off to try and find the Darkhold. It looks like he did find it, but then he loses it to Doctor Strange, who escapes the astral plane and gets his freedom back by defeating Khonshu. So it's a bit of an interesting story. It gives you a little bit of backstory that Doom is pretty much going around talking to everyone to try and get what he wants. Next up is the fall of Midtown. Name's Blade. Folks call me that because of the swords I use to slice the heads off every vampire I cross paths with. To be fair, I use a lot more than swords. Wooden stakes, silver bullets. Hell, I use a squirt gun full of holy water if that's what it takes to put a fanger down for good. I ain't picky. I've been hunting vamps my whole life, sending the undead back to their graves to make the night a safer place for the living. It ain't an easy job, but I'm one of the few with the skills or the guts to do it. When I heard that Dracula had some sort of master plan brewing, you can bet I jumped on the first red eye to Transylvania. Turns out, Drac wasn't home. He decided to make New York City his new stomping grounds, and he had a trick up his sleeve that even I didn't see coming. Somehow that freak cast a spell that stopped the sun from rising, trapping Manhattan in a state of non-stop darkness. That made New York City the perfect place for his hungry horde to run wild 24/7. Even worse, it took away my biggest advantage. See, I'm half vampire, half human. I've got all the powers of a regular vampire, plus the bonus of being able to walk and hunt in broad daylight. But when the dawn don't ever come, well, it means my usual way of doing things ain't gonna cut it anymore. Found that out the hard way when I got back to New York. I sliced a trail through an army of fangers straight to Central Park. Dracula already had the fortress there, and I was itching to pay him a visit. Turns out he knew I was coming and wanted to give me a proper welcome. That pasty priest ambushed me, and even though I fought for my life alongside Spider-Man and the Human Torch, he got the upper hand and hauled me away to the dungeon beneath his castle. Gotta say, it was a smart move on his part. When you know who your biggest threat is, you gotta take him out first, right? That's why I was going after Drac, and the fact that he felt the same way about me is kinda an honour, or it would be if I weren't shackled to the wall in this rat-infested cesspit. I ain't the only one Dracula needed out of the way either. Apparently there's some Asgardian squirrel named Ratatoska, whose enchanted horn can end the life of whatever it pierces, no matter how immortal. Drac summoned that magic squirrel to Earth and locked up in chains too. With his most dangerous foes off the board, Dracula's minions have free reign of the city. Sure, there are other heroes trying to take him down, but the numbers are in Drac's favour. All I can do is wait and hope that someone eventually sets me free. It's going to be a long night. So from this image, we can see that Blade has actually been captured by Dracula and defeated, and we can see him in the Midtown map, depending on which side you're on. In like a spawn area, you see Blade chained up to the castle, like he can't leave. And this is our first introduction to Blade. We haven't seen him before, and this is our first time seeing him like in the story and when we see him in game. Obviously showing that Blade will be a character coming to the game very, very soon. And as well as from the image, we see the Asgardian squirrel god, who was also captured. So it's very interesting that we get introduced to a brand new character in this, someone as Blade, as iconic as we know of him defeating vampires. It was great that he is added to this story. Next up, we have midnight missions. Don't know if you can hear me right now, Conchu. It's never been like you to actually listen to anyone's prayers, but if by some strange chance this is one of your rare moments where you decided to give a damn, you might as well know what your Moon Knight has been doing in your name. You sent me here to New York City to continue your sworn mission, keeping travelers in the night safe from the peril. And that's been no easy task now that the entire city has been overrun by vampires. But luckily, I'm not the only one who's been looking to bust up Dracula's blood-sucking brood. Your knight has formed his own round table. We've been calling ourselves the Eternity Knights. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It all started out when Iron Man and I came to the mutual realization that some of the other heroes we aligned ourselves with wouldn't be willing to get their hands, or their costumes dirty. They were also hung up on the idea that some of these vamps used to be innocent civilians. They aren't willing to accept that the notion that every war has casualties. It's like you always taught me, vengeance comes at a steep cost, but so does victory. Stark came around to my way of thinking pretty quickly, but not everyone followed suit. The Fantastic Four and that annoying girl with all the squirrels were too squeaky clean to do what needed to be done. So while they're up there in their ivory tower trying to figure out ways to save everyone, we're down here on the streets doing the real work, saving as many lives as we can, and ending the ones that can't be saved. Some of my crew are proud to be doing what they do so well. Wolverine and the Winter Soldier wear the Icha like it's a badge of honor. So does the new girl with a giant sword that speaks Japanese. She may be a better hunter than I am, but others don't want their reputations to be tarnished by the blood we're spilling. Good thing Stark has an endless flow of cash and a knack for the design. After some recent experiments, he incorporated chronovium into his armor specs, tapping into the ability to rewind time. The results were some epic new suits with a gothic aesthetic that hits all the right notes and faces. We may not be the only ones supporting new threads though. We recently ran across a group of vamps near my hideout in Greenwich Village. These were being led by a man in fancy white armour, and I could have sworn that I recognised them from somewhere. Whoever he was, he looked like he was ready to give old Dracula a run for his money when it comes to leadership of the vampire army. And when he does, I want to be there too. In the meantime, I'll be here keeping the streets safe and doing your dirty work for you, just like a good fist of Khonshu does. As long as the moon stays out, your knight will be at your service, whether you're listening or not. So it's a really interesting story because we get the origin of the Eternity Knights, which of course is everyone you see. You've got Psylocke, Winter Soldier, Iron Man in his armor, Moon Knight in his armor, Adam Warlock, Wolverine, and all of these skins obviously you can unlock. I'm not sure about Psylocke's in, but I can't remember, but the rest of the skins you can get from the Battle Pass. And it's talking about how these guys all align on, yeah, blood needs to be spilt. And Iron Man is the one that designed all of these outfits for them. which hopefully gives them like an edge on the opponents, because he mixed it with chronovium, these pieces of armor. And the person in the white suit that they're talking about, that says he's looking to give Dracula a run for his own money, is Black Panther, who we see here on the left. So it's a good backstory to show that these are the Eternity Knights working together. These are a little group of people who are getting on, trying to defend New York City. We know the Winter Soldier is here now, the same with Wolverine, but in other parts of the story they haven't been. And Black Panther just obviously touched on just a little bit in one of the earlier stories. Moving on to turning the pages. The Baxter Building, Reed Richards' laboratory. We've done it, Reed, Doctor Strange exclaimed. Almost all of the pages of the Darkhold are back in our hands once more. And according to my calculations, Mr. Fantastic replied, the chronal energy that's been grafted to them should be sufficient enough to get the time stream reintegration device running. All we need to do is extract the time essence from each page and... Not so fast, fellas, a voice unexpectedly interrupted over the Baxter Building's comms. Last I checked, the TRD was a joint effort, and Tony Stark had never been one to miss a product launch. Tony? Mr. Fantastic gasped. We cannot let him stand in our way, Doctor Strange said. With a quick gesture of his hands, the ancient pages of the Darkhold began to swirl around him in a mystical frenzy. Get those pages into the chronal cipher now, Stephen, Mr. Fantastic ordered. I'll deal with our uninvited guest. Deal with me? Iron Man laughed over the speaker. And how are you going to do that? By building an untested device and activating it before it's got enough energy to actually get the job done? Oh wait, you're already doing that. You know full well that we don't have time to wait until everything is perfect, Tony, Mr. Fantastic said. The time stream entanglement has to be undone, and the TRD will get the job done. I've crunched all the numbers, but somehow you've lost count of the seconds, Iron Man said, because I'll be there to stop you from making your biggest mistake ever in 4, 3, 2. Before Iron Man could finish his countdown, Mr. Fantastic stretched at his malleable body into a sheet-like barrier blocking off the entrance to the laboratory. 1, Iron Man yelled from the other side of the doorway. Mr. Fantastic grimaced as a barrage of repulsor beams hit him from behind. Though his elasticized form absorbed most of the impact, the pain was still excruciating. Reed, Doctor Strange shouted, deep concern showing on the Sorcerer Supreme's usually stoic face. I wasn't aiming for you, old friend, Iron Man said. You just got between me and my targets. The pages, Mr. Fantastic asked through gritted teeth. But Tony, they may be our only hope. I fully agree, Iron Man answered, but only if we have all of them, and Moon Knight tells me we're missing 2 of the most powerful spells in the book. The Montefiore formula and the vampiric verses, Doctor Strange said knowingly. Bingo, Iron Man replied. Without those in the mix, the chance of the TRD failing increases beyond a margin of error. I'm willing to accept. So tell me, Reed, are you still going to bet the fate of our universe and countless others on a device that isn't ready? Mr. Fantastic paused, then uttered a phrase that he couldn't recall leaving his lips in ages. I don't know. So for this one, this is just showing, as I said, not everyone's on the same page. As Moon Knight was just saying, Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic and the rest of the Fantastic Four and Squirrel Girl and probably Spider-Man, they don't want to, I guess, kill too many people, as because these people could have been innocent, so they're trying to build a device to stop it all. Whereas Iron Man is here to try and, he's assisting on the TRD as well, but they're obviously not keeping him up to date with it because he's got a different mindset on how things work. But this is saying Reed Richards doesn't know if he wants to actually give it a go. But like I've already told you, from the Thing story, we know that he built a smaller version that does actually work. Moving on to star turn. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a star. Whether it was the hottest actor in Hollywood or the fastest driver on the racing circuit, I had this nagging feeling that the name Johnny Storm was destined to be burned into people's minds forever. If only I'd known how right I was. When my sister's genius boyfriend Reed invited me to join him on a mission to space, I thought I'd found my ticket to fame. Johnny Storm, astronaut, wasn't exactly the role I'd been preparing for my whole life, but traveling the stars seemed like a logical first step to stardom. The sky was the limit. When we crashed back to Earth, we had this new cosmic powers that turned us from a group of explorers into a team of superheroes. People on the streets called me the Human Torch whenever I flamed on. but underneath the sheath of burning hot plasma, I was still good old Johnny Storm, and it was finally my time to shine. Being a member of the Fantastic Four skyrocketed me to celebrity status. I made the front page of the Daily Bugle at least once a week, and the gossip page. I nabbed a bunch of lucrative product endorsements, and I amassed a following of die-hard fans who hung on my every move. It was everything I'd ever wanted when I was a kid, but I've started to think that maybe it's not enough. See, between commercial shoots and nightclub openings, my day job has always been saving the world. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really good at it, or at least I was, until Dracula somehow cursed New York City and trapped it in a constant darkness. The city's heroes have been fighting vampires and each other, and we've tried to find a solution, but nothing seems to be working, and frankly I'm feeling a bit burnt out. But there still may be hope. While Reed tinkers with some of his timeline, fixing the doohickey, my big sis Sue is taking the battle straight to its source. She found her way into Dracula's castle, and she's planning on leading a squad to finish the fight, but she's going to need a major distraction to pull it off. Good thing her baby brother has never been one to pass up on some extra attention. If I push my powers to their limits, I can go supernova and buy Sue and her crew the time they need. And since I'll essentially become a mini sun for a hot second, I'll wipe out a ton of vampires in the process. Yes, I know the risks. At best I'm going to lose consciousness, at worst, well, let's just hope the Bugle writers write me a good obituary. And it better be on the front page above the fold, because if Johnny Storm goes down, it's going to be as the star he's always meant to be. So from this, we're getting that Invisible Woman has found a way into Dracula's castle, and the plan is she wants to lead like a resistance into the castle and take the fight directly to the source, Dracula, and end this once and for all. So Johnny Storm is deciding what he's going to do, and that is going supernova, and we know that's what he says when he uses his ultimate, and I believe this is him going supernova right here. Defeating the vampires around him and causing the distraction to help Invisible Woman. And moving on to the last page, the most interesting page, is plans within plans. And you already can see from the image it looks interesting, but this is written from the point of view of Doom 2099, not Doom of present day that has been throughout this whole story, of his enemy, his counterpart from 2099. A passage from the Book of Doom 2099. Doom rarely finds a reason to admit fault, but I must say, I seem to have underestimated myself. When that bothersome past version of me, the one from decades ago who foolish meddling fractured the time stream, gave a powerful shard of chronovium to the Lord of Vampires as part of a ploy to shroud New York City in darkness, I assumed he was merely playing games that were far beneath my notice. I should have realised that any Doom, even one lesser than I, always has a scheme in play that will unfold into something far grander with time. Despite his initial reservations, Dracula convinced himself that the Doom of his era was an ally to his cause, having provided him with the means to locate the missing pages of the Darkhold containing the vampiric verses. With that incantation, Dracula believed he would be able to raise an infinite army of the undead that would spread across the world and feast until the end of days. Though Dracula knew in his black heart that Doom could not be trusted, he looked past his trepidations to achieve his own goals. It was an error in judgment that would prove fatal. Doom had deceived Dracula from the very start. My past self did indeed want Dracula to locate the vampiric verses, but not so that the vampire king could create more children of night. Instead, Doom wished to tap into the very essence of the immortality bestowed upon vampire kind through this arcane rite. By funneling that time-defying magic into the chronovium, Doom believed he could create an even stronger form of the crystal, a pure blood chronovium. After all, if a single drop of Dracula's blood infused into the shard could give vampires an enemy, Doom suspected that an endless supply of that same immortal energy would help him reshape the time stream as he saw fit. Knowing full well that such machinations would be instantly opposed by the Sorcerer Supreme and his heroic allies, Doom could not risk his true plot being discovered. So he manipulated events from the shadows, letting Dracula and his minions dirty their hands as they unwittingly held Doom's greatest foes at bay. And once the vampiric verses were located, Doom changed his allegiance and secretly assisted the heroes in their efforts to defeat Dracula. all in order to claim his ultimate prize and work his ancient magic on the Chronovium. Surprisingly, Doom's plan turned out to be a resounding success, with every move unfolding just as he had orchestrated it, outwitting everyone. Doom stood triumphant with the pure blood Chronovium in his iron grip. Even I was impressed, but he's not the only Doom with grand plans in motion, and while he may have ended this round with a win, I will soon prove to him that this is mere glimmer of the man he is destined to become. Now, if you excuse me, Doom has a gala to attend, and this story is so good. This is the final page of the Season 1 and 1.5 story, and it's from Doom 2099, who says he saw that Doom of present day was doing things, but he didn't think of it, it was like anything good, but he should have actually thought that all Dooms have a plan. And from this we can see that Doom of present day did trick Dracula. He wanted this blood Chronovium for himself and needed Dracula, because he's as the immortal being, to actually turn the Chronovium into that type of Chronovium crystal to unlock its full potential. And he said he very slightly helped the heroes in doing this, so he must have somehow, obviously with Invisible One wanting to go and attack Dracula in his castle, Doom had some part to play on assisting these heroes in order to get what he wanted in the end, which it doesn't surprise me. And obviously this Doom can now use this to help shape time as to how he wants. But from this story, we also got that Doom 2099 is doing his own plannings, and if Season 1 1.5 was for Doom of present day, Season 2 will sure be that for Doom of 2099, and I've made a full video on what to expect from Season 2 and why it will be based on the Hellfire Gala. The Hellfire Gala being a party where mutants and all different types of heroes come together, but stuff always happens at this gala, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, and I imagine a lot of things are going to be happening and a lot of new characters will be being introduced. But one thing I want you to think about is, now the story's over, now Dracula's been defeated and Doom has his crystal and he leaves, obviously New York City should no longer be in an eternal darkness of night. But if Dracula's defeated, that means Blade is free to go. And, he can be released from his captivity that he's been held at the bottom of Dracula's castle. He should be released, which will mean that Blade will be a character released very soon, because once this season's over, once the story's over right at the end, Blade should be able to come out. So besides these stories, the only other one of interest is obviously what is going to happen to Black Panther now, and why exactly, why did this happen to him? How did he become the vampire that he was? So in T'Challa's story, in his second one that has been unlocked, the Blood of the Kings, it shows that obviously he's gone to New York City to help with the whole situation, what's going on with the time stream entanglement, and deciding how he can be of assistance. And the whole time while he's there, he's trying to get to the Baxter building, and he's in communications with Shuri at the beginning, and Shuri's worried for him. So is bodyguards for that, for him going by himself to New York City, not of his timeline, but for him to get here. And Shuri's more worried because she knows Black Panther's saying he'll be fine, he's got Bast on his side, but Shuri knows that Bast has been corrupted. So does T'Challa. He knows that Bast, the issues that he's been having with Bast and some of the things that she's been saying, it's not the Bast that he once knew, but he still believes in her. So when he gets there, he sees a group of vampires attacking a civilian, so he goes to fight them. And then there's more. Bast is talking to him the whole time, saying like, you're never as clever as you thought. And he's fighting them, but they're still chasing him. The vampires are chasing him, and Bast is whispering, you have the blood of kings, they can smell it. And he's stopping and fighting these vampires, and Bast whispers to him, well done, my chosen one, but you've forgotten one thing. Here you are not the king. And at this moment, that is when Dracula appears, saying that he should strike him down where he stands. And with an effortless strike from the back of his hand, he sent T'Challa reeling backwards. And T'Challa asks, like, who are you? And he goes, I've got by many names, but best as Dracula, but you may call me your majesty. And as he leaned in ready to bite T'Challa's neck, he tried to bite him. Dracula reeled in pain because of the vibranium mesh armor was not only impenetrable, it had a number of self-defense mechanisms built into its nanofiber. And it said T'Challa prayed to the Orisha that this suit would be enough to keep him safe, but as he'd learned all too well of his late, his gods were not listening. And Dracula said, if I can't have your blood, then I'll have your devotion, and uses like his little chronovium that he has. It says this in crystal is infused with forbidden magic, and he's trying to turn T'Challa into his own image. And as the transformation's taking place, Bast's growl grew into a roar, but suddenly it was silenced as T'Challa began to fade. And Dracula said, how strange, your blood smelled so sweet before, like a rare flower on the African plains, but now it has lost its bouquet. You are no different from any other of my minions. And T'Challa said, this is where you're wrong, I am not no minion, I am the king of Wakanda, and I shall be your end. And he's able to escape, and runs away, and he has a heart-shaped herb, and he's wondering if he should have it or not. And that's where it probably leads in to the story of the Thing finding T'Challa with like his own vampires around him, and they're not after him anymore because he doesn't have that smell of like his king blood, because he's he's kind of like a vampire now. So that's where he can take control of the minions, and we know that he uses that last heart-shaped herb that he has, but then Reed Richards actually reverts it. So that is pretty much the story so far. What we know in Marvel Rivals. I've covered Season 0, and this is the story of Season 1 and 1.5, covering everything else in the story. I don't believe I missed anything. If you guys think I have, then you can let me know. Obviously, there's been hints to the Hellfire Gala, hints to who we could possibly see there, yeah, like, you know, with Galacta talking about Professor X's helmet, Cerebro, how like it's found like broken, and who could, like, you know, use it. We know that Magneto tried to use his own, tried to use that, but in a Hellfire Gala there could be one that's being used by someone else if it's like in a different universe. We just have to wait and see. Could it be Emma Frost? We don't know. But that is the story so far of Marvel Rivals Season 1 and 1.5. The next one will be Season 2, and I'll be making another video at the end of all of this. So the timelines are still all the same from the first video. Nothing's changed from that. The only difference is Black Panther is in New York City with the additional Blade, that we know he's a new character now in New York City in the timeline. So yeah, guys, if you did enjoy that video, please let me know down below. Please leave a like, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button. That would be most appreciated if you can subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,400 subscribers. But yeah, if I did miss anything, leave a comment down below. Leave a comment as what do you think the story's gonna, you know, which way it's gonna go as well. Yeah, but as you guys have been awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.